No
Yep.
show.
All right. I was starting to do the introduction, but I got to turn you, I'm going to turn this over to you for the host.
All right. Still going to stream?
We are now live. That's real talk right here. So today I have with me Rashad Muhammad. He's going to beat me up. Brother Rashad Muhammad. I have Brother Melvin Little. He's going to be doing the interviewing today. So I'm going to be turning this over to him in just a second. I hope that everybody is having a great day and definitely a very Merry Christmas to you on this Christmas Eve. Is it? Yeah, it's Christmas Eve day. So let me turn this over to you real quick here, bro. Yes, a second. You are now the host. Go for it.
All right. Today we got a very good show today. And on this show here, actually, Brother Tony Muhammad will be getting interviewed, and he'll be getting interviewed with, is it Brother Rashad or Brother Rashid? Okay, I'm sorry.
Brother Rashad.
It's Brother Rashad Muhammad from South Carolina. And he is the Grand Master there. And we also have Brother Tony Muhammad, past Grand Master, most Pusin, actually both of them, most Pusin of their jurisdictions. And we're going to be doing a little interview today, and I'm going to be asking them some questions about how the meeting with them coming together as a meeting of a mind in Farrakhan, how it all happened. And I'm going to just ask them some questions to get some insights from some guys that was there. Not only was they there when it happened, these are two of the guys that were not just the 12, they were also part of the 6. So these guys were very integral. Even Brother Muhammad, Brother Tony Muhammad, actually read the rituals of the first, second, and third degree to Brother Farrakhan with Brother Rashad Muhammad, who was actually in the house. So I want to start off, let's get to the beginning before we get to any of that. Brother Muhammad, question for you. How did it start on this journey for you to make this happen first off? And then I'm going to get to you, Brother Rashad, next.
As far as for me, I was working with Brother Hugh Muhammad. His name has been changed to Wali Ali Muhammad here at Mosque number 8 in San Diego. He and I had a long fraternal relationship, and I was speaking with him on regarding doing this some years ago. And he said, well, all you have to do is write a letter.
How many years ago, before it happened, how many years, if I may ask?
For me to get that letter to him, it took almost about 1.5 to 2 years to make this happen on my end.
So 2 years, let's say 2 years prior to.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that being said, things kind of lined up. I call it the unseen hand of God for me, because he was headed to go see the minister on the day that I actually was in contact with Brother Marcus, and he was, fine-tuning my letter. And as Brother Wali Ali Muhammad was getting to the minister, apparently I had learned that there was another letter already there. So they was working on my letter getting there at the same time. So that was the blessing in it and the whole thing. So it took me a minute to get mine to him, but it was like everything was lined up.
So basically there were 2 letters that was going on at the same time that this was happening.
Yes.
Okay. And Brother Rashad, I usually call him Brother Rob, but for the show, I'm going to call him Brother Rashad. Brother Rashad.
Yes, sir.
Now, it's hard for me to have a straight face now, so funny, but I will have a straight face. Now, from your end, how did this transpire from your end, and how long ago did it transpire?
To be honest, me and my past grandmaster, past most Pusin, Cliffy Hazel, we had sought to send a letter out to the Most Honorable Louis Farrakhan back in 2007. And we had an award.
Wow.
Yeah, we had an award that we were giving him in recognition of his service to humanity, and an honorarium to the Blue House, the Grand Lodge back then. And we were trying some different angles of people out in the nation and try to get the word out to him. I think I met out with some brothers out in Detroit for our Savior's Day there, and we were trying to get the letter to him officially, and we just were never able to get it done. And then you skip past for a couple of years. And here we were now, to be honest, some time ago, 2019, in which my past most recent passed away. I wound up becoming a grad master of South Carolina, and also wound up assuming the role of most puissant as my predecessor, Clifford E. Hazel, 33, 97th degree. He passed away in 2013. And so I penned the letter again because that was one of the things that we wanted to do. We were striving to get done. He was a lover of the minister and admirer of his work, as well as myself. And so I
was he a Muslim?
No, he was a Moor, but he was also a bishop. I would say in terms of titles, he assumed everything. He was a learner of all things. Yeah, he was a spiritualist, very evolved brother. He learned in England, practiced angelic ministries. But yeah, he was a lover of the minister and his work. And so I wanted to try to close out some of the things that we had set out to do before his passing, and getting honoring to the minister was one of the things that we both wanted, and something I wanted to do growing up in the nation, and also a member of the nation. I wanted to do that to our leader as well, and recognize.
How long have you been a member of the nation?
Well, half my family is Muslim, half Christian. My independence in terms of being part of the nation since really actively since about 16, 17 years old. So about 2006, 2007. 1986, 1987 is where.
No problem. When you get older, folks, dates get cloudy.
Ha ha ha. But this is back in New York. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and this is back where we had Mosque number 7C there in Brooklyn on Gates Avenue. And then eventually we moved to the Black National Theater on Fifth Avenue before we got our Mosque number 7 there on 126th Street. But that was a long time ago. And it was just an honor and a privilege for me to be able to pen a letter to him. And we wanted to now, as most puissant, I wanted to not only give him an honorarium from the Grand Lodge, from the Blue House, which is the highest job, we wanted to give him one from the Supreme Council, ancient considered Scottish Rite of all hemispheres, and his recognition, which was be the highest honor to be able to do that as well. So we penned the letter, and Brother Don and myself, who live in South Carolina, he's a good brother, good friend, and we got together, and he said he would get the letter to the minister on my behalf, and we did that. And that's how that worked. It just formulated the letter. We have some other things that we want to present to him as far as the apron, the two certificates for both houses, and a few other gifts. And he was able to make that happen. And he alerted me that there was another letter at that time. Like a little while later, he said, did you send another letter from somewhere else? And I said, no. He said, another letter also came in from California. I said, well, I got it. We got brothers we were fraternally connected to in the Supreme Council in California. He told me the name. I wasn't familiar that he mentioned the brother Marcus, who was associated with him. I said, he lives in Baltimore. He came to our jurisdiction in the beginning. And at which time I said, he actually, we have an issue with presenting at the same time if we were allowed to. And I said, no, I had no issues whatsoever. And that's where we were from there. We formulated a date that was conducive for both people, for both jurisdictions. And that's where we were able to meet out there in September.
Okay. So clearly, and so both letters came, did they both come that year?
I'm believing so, yeah.
Yeah, both letters got to him that year, right around the same time.
Right around the same time?
Yeah.
And you got one jurisdiction that had it part of their puissance pretty much bucket list as a mission to do to meet this man and give him some honorary degrees. And you have another man that wanted to meet him and wanted to raise him up. And so you guys are telling me just so happened around about the same time within maybe could be some months or it could even be weeks that two letters hit the hands of Brother Don Enoch. Is that right?
No, I would say.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Now, my thing is, what's the odds of that happening? Coming from the West Coast, the letter gets out there. Coming from the East Coast, the letter has been kind of East Coast and down south, the letter been kind of bubbling. Then both the letters get out there and they reach the same person's hand at the same time. Now, I have to ask you both. I want to ask you both a question here, which I get to do that. Do you think that was a coincidence?
I don't believe there's such thing as coincidences. I believe there's divine interventions. I don't believe there's a coincidence, particularly when it's dealing with Minister Louis Farrakhan and what we were trying to do, as well as from, I believe, Brother Tony. I think it was just the perfect timing. Things lined up for it to happen in that capacity as it did.
Okay, so sorry about that, Brother Tony. What do you think? You think it was a coincidence?
No, I would call it the unseen hand of God, because everything had to be perfect. I mean, everything had to be like clicking like a car engine, to put it that way, you know, and it was. And that's the beauty of all of this that was going on behind the scenes, which a lot of people don't know. A lot of people think it's just something that just happened. This was years in the making.
Unscripted.
What he's saying, this was like years in the making.
Right.
Okay, so another question I have to ask you. When you got to Farrakhan's house and you two didn't know each other, how far apart in time-wise did you guys arrive there? Was it like one guy got there 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, you know, half an hour? Or was it?
It was amazing. We connected a little bit, I think, by line on the phone, kind of. I think Brother Marcus was staying at a location, and I was going to try to pick him up and meet them. But we got there like the same time again, if I can remember correctly. You guys, Brother Tony, but we were both right out front around the same time. And of course, we talked and got to know each other, and we came in together. But I don't think we got there roughly around a few minutes before.
I think.
Sir?
No, I was gonna say, I think you're correct, because even from my memory, what I can recollect, everybody pulled up at the same time, which seemed to be kind of freaky because everybody's coming from different directions and gets there at the exact same time.
Yeah, we were staying at different places throughout Chicago. Wasn't at the same place. Traffic from different areas, but some reason we all wound up there at the palace around the same time. And I think that was, again, you know, it's no coincidence. It just lined up.
It just, like you said, the hand of God. Now I got another question. When you guys first went in, you know, because most people don't, what was the experience like when you first went in? Like, what was going through your minds? I'm gonna ask each of this, and what was the feeling? I'm gonna start with you, Tony.
Okay. Let me call you right back, Graham. That was my Grandmaster tuning in. I'm gonna call you right back.
Tell him you getting interviewed on the show, man.
Well, I would say this for me, after being searched, and told to, hey, you know, you gotta take your shoes off and you can't take nothing in. This is it. This your Masonic regalia, all of that stays right here. Your shoes, all of that stays right here. So take them off, put them here, and you're thoroughly searched. So that was the thing. And you know what else got me? It's the background check that they was asking each of us to do. Who's coming?
Mm-hmm.
Who are they? How, you know, your whole background. Where do you work? What's your position in your Grand Lodge? Who are you? That whole thing happened before we got there. And then when we got there, that was the beauty of it all, because of how we were seated, how we was brought in, and how he came to greet us. That was the exciting moment for me.
Okay, and Brother Rashad, what about you?
Similar fashion. Coming in, like I said, we pretty much used to the checks growing up, and I understand that. But now we're in the palace, we're at the home of the minister, which was, you know, very humbling for me to be able to come in there. So many people went through those doors, you know, whether it's Muhammad Ali or Abdul Jabbar or Gaddafi, anyone. There's so many people. But so we walk through the doors, and of course we go through the search. And like Brother Tony said, they asked, of course, to leave our things there in that room so they can go through them, I guess, further. And we were told to put on these white socks, which I think was cool, because I'm the same way with bringing energy into the home. But you put on these white socks that you come inside the palace with, and we were coming in, and they were gathering as the FOI was coming there. Security was there in the main room, well, the open area room before we were seated. The minister came out, and it's just the energy in the room as he greeted us was so loving and divine. You just can feel the presence of the Most High there. It was already on that vibe when we met the brothers, because we were all vibrating at that same energy. It was all positive. and it was all good. And I loved
I'm
it.
gonna add something to that, Brother Rashad. Do you know the funny thing is that it was only going to be 4 of us. Remember, I was going to bring my grandmaster, Calvin Sanders at the time, and I think you was going to bring someone else also. It was going to only be 4 of us, and then they kind of opened it up for us to bring extra people. So I got so excited. I ain't gonna lie. I called Melvin was the first guy I called outside of my grandmaster. He was the first guy I called. I said, man, you don't know what's about to pop off. He's like, what you got? I said, man, we're going to see Farrakhan. He said, you lying. No, I'm not. And I was so hyped at the time. He was like, dude, for real? I was like, yeah, and I can invite these many people. He was like, for real? So after I hit him up, for me, after I called Melvin, I called Christopher Jackson, and I informed him. I said, look, I'm inviting you to the table to be with Minister, and you can invite somebody. So, so we had the opportunity to do that, and in the process, we had to collect their information and turn it over to Brother Dodd, who then in turn did whatever they was going to do to find out, are we legitimately who we claim to be or are? And that is what I found to be exciting on my end, because like I called Melvin, and Melvin's like, for real? It's like, yeah. I said, Melvin, you got to wear a bow tie. He was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. He was for real. He was like, I got to wear a bow tie. I'm like, bro, you got to be fully dressed. And he said, okay, all right, for you, I'm gonna do this. But yeah, that was the part for me.
I wouldn't wear a bow tie for anybody, but I wore one for the master teacher. I will say that. Now, let's get back to where we're supposed to be. So now, when Farrakhan comes down, you guys are feeling very, very majestic. Things are going on. You're feeling excited. I want to know, when you got to that table, and at this table, Barack Obama, Muhammad Ali, I mean, anybody you can name in the nation, just the most powerful people have sat at that table, at this one table. I mean, even Elijah Muhammad sat at this table.
That's right.
What was it like for I noticed where he sit you two, and I noticed that. So I want to know, what was it like for you two when he had the greeting for you both at the table, met you with love, and then he said each individual, it's almost as if where he wanted them to be. And you two, he was very specific about where he wanted y'all to sit. I'm gonna go with you, Brother Muhammad, first.
Well,
okay, Brother Rashad, I'll go to you first. I want you, Brother Tony, I'm gonna alternate you.
Oh, well, for me, it was, I've always listened to stories of the minister and how he is immediately as far as with Elijah Muhammad. And he always tried to make sure he was humble in everything that he's done, to make sure he kept his heart right. And I didn't want to. We had a number of brothers that came. It was just me and my grand senior warden. I didn't want to bring too many people to the palace. And it was just us two. I was supposed to be the deputy, but he missed his flight. So when he began to ask us to be seated, I wanted to remove myself. I didn't want to, no disrespect to anyone. I don't think anyone was. I didn't want to seem like I was jockeying for a seat or try to, you know what I mean? So I asked with the fruit, can I use the restroom? Which I did use the restroom, but I wanted to go use the restroom. And then I figured everyone will be where they were supposed to be, and wherever Allah and the minister wanted me to sit, that's where I would be, no matter where it was at the table. So I went to the restroom. When I came back, I was really humbled and touched the fact that he had me at his right hand, right at his right hand, right next to him at the seat at the table. And that was very humbling for me. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, very, very humbling to be able to sit at the right hand of the minister, to be able to feel his energy, to be able to be there while he hosted us at the table of wisdom there. So for me, it was just really ideal. And I really appreciated that moment. We were there for several hours, and it felt like it was 30 minutes, but that's me in regards to the seating of the table. That's where I was at. And I think my grand senior warden was maybe 2 seats for me or 1 seat for me. There on my right.
No. He was sitting by me.
Yeah, I think were you sitting by me and then he was by you? I can't remember
No, don't worry about it.
that. Yeah, I know. I know he was on the same side I was on.
All right, brother Muhammad, on you.
I'm gonna help him out a little bit. He was sitting right next to you, and then there was Melvin.
Yeah.
And as we entered, he had us to set specifically according to, I don't know, but he was like, I want you here, I want you here. He started putting people where he wanted.
It was freaky. Like, whoa. But he put me in the third seat because he knew I was at least a master mason, But go ahead.
And that was a beautiful thing because he set my grandmaster right next to me, and then he set Brother Marcus right next to him. So that was the unique part of how all of this kind of transpired. Like I say, it was like the unseen hand of God, like just placing us in particular places at this table that very powerful people in the world has sat at this table. And when he went to break down who had actually sat at the table, it made me realize how privileged I was at that time. For him to say, be it Elijah Muhammad, first off, it was his table from his original home that was next door to the palace. Then he goes on to tell you, Obama said here. Then he went on and on about who was at the table. And then each of us had microphones like in front of us, which made it like
it was documented. A lot of cameras,
everything. I think this is going to be footage that'll probably come out later because they recorded everything.
Yeah, they recorded the whole interview, and his daughter was there as well. That was there as well.
So get to that.
Oh, okay, Sister Donna. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I was gonna get to before I got to her, I was gonna get to her a little bit later, but since you brought it up, I can get to her now. One of the things that, and this is more of a wrap up, one of the things that she asked was that she said her dad understands that there may not be another influential master teacher like him that is so broad, and that he is on the search for individuals in their each general spaces that can lead. He understands it might not be the generational Malcolm X's, Martin Luther King's, Farrakhan's. And how did that make y'all feel when she said that her father had been searching? That's really deep and has been searching. Brother Rashad, you go first.
I think that's what the minister, of course, is his mission. Is he doesn't never want it to be a thing of personalities. And we've seen in the past how some things were created and destroyed based on personalities. He understands that he's a vehicle that was used by the Creator. And of course, he's going to seek out other divine energy because that's the way they can never control or stop the movement or the evolution to oneness with God. It's in each one of us. So he's seeking out for other individuals and other leaders, and for us to be able to be there. I believe that no matter how big or how small, he recognized our potential to be able to do that. And he wanted to spark and inspire us to continuously stay on that path, to be able to lead and be an inspiration to other people. It's all about the replacement of who we are. And that's what it's about. As the master builder, as we know, as Hiram Abiff was killed or murdered, for them to continue the building of Solomon's temple, they didn't go look out for another individual. It was never an individual. It was multiple individuals that they had to contract to finish the building of King Solomon's temple, to replace such greatness. And so with the minister saying that his physical transition back to the world of spirit is taking place soon, as we all do, he wants to seek out possible potential leaders, other masters that could continuously move on with the work. And for her to even recognize that and to put that question to us was to spark that within ourselves as well, to understand what our purpose was here, not to have lunch or dinner or shake a hand and give a certificate. For the minister was far more bigger than that. He doesn't care about any certificate. He knows who he is. So she wanted to make sure that we understood our purpose here. I believe, in my humility. So.
I like that answer, Brother Muhammad. How did you feel when she said, because I want to tell, before you say something, I want to let everybody understand that it wasn't just Muslims that were in the room. They were Masons of all religion or all spiritual nationality there. So it was not Muslim Masonic specific. So let's break that myth now. Go ahead, Brother Muhammad.
I think when she spoke about her father and the Masons knocking on the door, wanting to do this, that was powerful in itself.
Right.
When she said, hey, you know what, this was foretold, you know, that this would happen. And I'm like, I'm sitting in my seat and they was like, yeah, you know, you never, and I hadn't. But when she broke that down and she meant it and how her spirit poured out in regards to us being there, it was touching. It made me want to up my game, knowing that, look, you can't be doing everything now. You know, you sit at this table. So you no, it's different now. It was okay.
Your movement is different.
Absolutely. You know, it was okay for you to be, you know, doing your thing Masonically, blah, blah, blah. But now you have sat at this table where other leaders, national leaders have sit. Do you understand what's taking place here? And when that hit me, I was like, oh, this is different. This is different.
Is that why you chilled out so much? And they, you know, you just kind of like you kind of moving majestically. I'm just asking.
Hey, Rashad, I'm gonna tell you this. I was sitting in my seat like this, looking at him like, I could do this to him. You know, I'm serious. I'm like, hey man, I'm this close. And I'm like, do you understand what's taking place? That to me was like, oh wait, you know, it's
something serious.
To document it was the cream on the crop. I mean, you know, boom, this is documented. So it is
heavily documented.
So what now?
Heavily documented.
Oh yeah, you know. Yeah,
but I would like to get to the part that wasn't documented. So to make sure, it's one thing we handed out honoraries. And everybody says honorary. You know, it's kind of funny because in every jurisdiction, whether you are recognized or unrecognized, people talk about, oh, they get microwave, oh, they do this, oh, do that, there's not a jurisdiction that I haven't seen that a Grand Master doesn't have the authority to microwave. It is within their power. And there's every Grand Lodge Estate, you name it, they have these, I call them popcorn sessions. They have a session, you go there, as long as you cut the check, you go in the microwave, leave out, it's fine. I've seen some guys that's been microwaved. I want to say this first off, and these microwave guys have stuck around 10, 20, 30 years. I've seen guys that took the long way, and as soon as they became Master Mason, the only thing you can see is an emblem on their car. That is one thing I know for sure. Now, I want to get to the other session, because after the session, after the eating, after, and I seen Brother Farrakhan, the master teacher, the guy which was there, he told him, hey, cancel my schedule. So after all this, we're going to fast forward a little bit and we're going to go back. You went into the back room and you took 6 Master Masons of high stature with you. And I'm going to ask you first, Brother Muhammad, about the guys you took with you. And please explain to me what happened in the back adjacent room where no cameras can go.
So I'm going to do a little back on that, because it was between me and Brother Rashad. It was only the original 4 who was supposed to have been there, the original 4. So in saying that, we only wanted to set at the table, as he said, and said, you know what, this is from us to you. Right. That's what I got, Brother Rashad.
Yes, sir.
But then as things kind of picked up, I pulled Brother Rashad aside. I said, man, I think we can do this. I think this would be the it factor. He was like, yeah, that's what, you know, correct me if I'm wrong.
So you saying not just honorary to just go ahead and just deliver?
Absolutely. He was like,
okay.
Yeah, we'll do it.
No, when I say deliver, I'm talking about make it official delivery, or is it just honorary or
no,
the official delivery?
we decided, and when Brother Tony mentioned it to me, and we were there when we were getting some of the certificates and what was given, we knew we wanted to do more than just certificates. And we ain't able to feel the energy in the room. We decided to ask if we will be allowed to give them something more than just the certificates, because Brother Tony's like, hey, I think we could yeah. And I said, yeah, you think we could just, let's ask. And we asked, and they said, yeah. And we told them what we wanted to do. And so we went, when we went in the back, we gave them over obligation, and we gave them signs, password, and grips. Let's be clear. He was given obligations, signs, passwords, and grips.
And one of the things that I've learned that when you get to the higher house, like let's say you go to the Royal Ark, let's throw it out there for instance. It's 3 by 3 by 3. Those that know what I'm talking about. Was Brother Farrakhan the only guy that was made a Mason in that back adjacent room? Was it just him, or was there anybody with him, or any others?
There were 2 others. There
were 2 others. So it was 3 of them that got made.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We kept in step. We kept in
by 3.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So it
happened. The way things lined up, coming up to that point, and even to that, if you know the signs and you understand the numbers and the divine numbers and the mystic numbers and all these things and how they kept lining up, you knew there was the green light to continuously move forward. When we were there in the back, like you said, it was 2 others on side of the minister. And of course, if we were going to administer these things to him, he had 2 security, 2 people that he very much trusted, and 2 brothers that we very familiar with in the nation, that we said, okay, well.
So he got 2 cable toes.
Yeah, he actually does.
He got 2 cable toes.
Yes,
okay,
yes,
so
sir.
that's not, they're not honorary cable toes. Those are his 2 cable toes.
Those are his 2 cable toes.
Okay, Brother Muhammad asked you the same question. Are they honorary, or those are his cable toes?
Those are his cable toes. And here's the funny part. He said, I want to do it all.
That's right. He said that. Yep.
And that's what struck me. I was like, no, we just gonna know. He said, no. I want to do it all. And when we got to the part for the Master Mason ceremonies part, he's like, no, I want to be raised. I was like, that I don't know how you felt, Brother Rashad, but I was kind of like, nah. He's like, no, I want, it's got to be on the 5 points. And I was like, oh, okay.
He want that.
Oh yeah, I do remember. He did get up. He made sure he shook everybody up on the 5 points of fellowship.
Yeah, he said, I want to be done. I wanted to be done on the 5 points of
But
fellowship.
now, before he took the oath and obligation, do you 2 guys remember the main question he asked us before he took the oath? I just want to see.
Well, I don't know which question, because he asked us. Well, the thing that took me is what he said. He said, now, after you guys do this, can anybody come behind you and take what you gave to me away from me? Who has the authority to do that?
He was saying, who do you belong? Who do you answer to? And who do you belong to?
He said, yeah, who do you answer to? We was like, nobody. This is it. We don't answer to nobody.
So what did he say after that?
Proceed. Proceed.
Okay, so
go ahead, Brother Rashad.
All right.
No, that was it. I mean, I was always just elated and so in awe with the minister, the fact that he wanted everything that should be given to him. He didn't do like, okay, give me this and I'm gonna say this. He wanted to go. He went over. Some people might see some pictures of us shaking his hand, particularly my own, was because, and I had a smile on my face because he was giving me the grips. As you see, I covered. He was giving us the grips. He wanted to test on all of us. We was like, I got it right. He wanted to make sure he got his step right.
He had the grip hidden because he didn't want everybody to know that. See, there you go.
He covered. He even covered. He knew who to cover instantaneously.
Yeah.
He was a master. He knew what to do instantaneously. He just on my life for over a half a century years old, I've met a lot of people, and I traveled some places throughout the world. I met some very strong and inspirational men and women. But there's certain people to me that is from the family of God. I don't know how to explain that. Like to me, I know we are God's children, but there's certain people that are so divine on this plane of existence. When you
it's kind of like
it's
like in the Christian world, like even like with the Jews, if they say you're born of a Levite, then that's where all the priests are supposed to be Levites. So I can see what you're saying. It's just like some people they're more spiritually touched.
So
another
you can
question.
feel them in that room. And yeah, and I don't want to cut you off, but that was something you felt through the whole time I was there with him. The only other man I ever met like that was my past grandmaster, Clifford Hazel. And I felt like them two, if they were ever in a room together, would be so dynamic to just be someone to sit and listen to them rap and talk. Similar family, they from the same family. And so it was an experience that you wouldn't forget.
So another question I want to ask this of both of you. What would you say to anyone who says he didn't get raised? It's not real. Because I remember people were saying it's Photoshop. I heard a lot of Photoshop first. People said PHA wasn't in the room. PHA was there. They wasn't in the room with the adjacent six. There was every jurisdiction there. But what would you say to the people that say it's not real? I'm gonna start off with you, Brother Tony, and see what you have to say.
The fact of the matter that they had said that it wasn't real made it real. It's not real. Oh, okay, all right. And then when it really started popping out, like they did this. Who are those guys? I remember Brother Chad from the Grand Lodge of Texas did a video saying Prince Hall did these things, and it was like, no, that wasn't us. Who was it? Who were these Masons that did this with the minister? And then when it finally came out, that it was the brothers of the Ancient Free and Accepted Masons, and it was us who was doing this, it was like, how did that happen? So for people to say, oh, it never happened, man, I just smile every time. And it just amazes me of the mere fact of what myself and those who was there, Brother Rashad, what we have accomplished, what we did, and what we continue to do and accomplish based upon the fact of the mission statement that he gave us.
For me, I'm disinterested in any of that type of conversation. What I mean that is, people are always going to have something to say. If they're not involved in something, and it wasn't the first idealist to want to do it because they just didn't have any intentions to want to, they automatically begin to start to check the credibility or to cast doubt in the credibility of something because they wasn't in the room or they didn't do it or I didn't come up with that idea first. It doesn't make it that it didn't happen. It happened. It didn't matter if I witnessed somebody else have done it. I would have been like, that's outstanding. I'm glad they did that. Because generally, he deserves that. He is the master teacher. There's nobody on this plane of existence that anyone can point to, black, white, red, yellow, brown, male, female, or indifferent, that has the capacity in the time that we've been here, and the time that he's been on this planet for such a long period of time, that has taught the magnitude of people to the capacity that he has. That has made a difference, not just in the lives of the Black community, but all over the world as he has. So for being Brother Tony to recognize that, and for the spirit within ourselves to motivate us to be able to bestow the honor to this brother, to Minister Louis Farrakhan, deservingly so, I would have just been, if it was me, like, I'm glad somebody did it, or I would have been they should have been working on it. Or, but to say it didn't happen, or to doubt who did it, or the legitimacy of it. I mean, I think we all need to grow up and mature at some point in time, understanding that it is what it is. It did happen. It was in the Final Call newspaper. I don't think Minister is going to go through, when the Final Call is going to go through all they go through to make this up. It did happen. But as far as any naysayers, I'm disinterested in those type of conversations to prove anything to anyone at this point in my life. I really don't care what they say. I just don't.
And to me, this was a uniting factor. Because if this doesn't happen, I don't get to see Brother Rashid. I don't get to go to places I'm about to go without him. There's a lot of things that is happening for me right now is because of Brother Rashid. And I'm thankful for that because he's put me in contact with people that I would have never met. And we've been step since then. I mean,
let's connect. So you guys are still in communication and close to each other since that day.
I think me and Brother Tony is trying to do what the minister said, and I think that's the most important thing.
What did the minister say to do? if I may ask, I'm sorry to cut you off, but what did he say to do?
To use his name in this meeting to unite and not to divide. And Brother Tony has been doing a lot to unite. I've seen him with conversations with Masons of all colors, of all hues, and I've been very proud of that. We've been connecting, and I had a lot of brothers and sisters and sisters from all over the world who commended me on being able to make the minister. Well, we didn't make him, but giving him an honorarium and making him Mason on site and making him part of the Scottish Rite, and giving him acknowledging his work. They applauded that in other areas of the world. And so, and it was a uniting tool for us to be able to utilize that. And that's what he asked us to do. All of the men at the table, he asked us to use this meeting, this union, and everything that takes place to unite and not to divide. And that's what I've always been about. That's what Brother Tony is about. I think that's why our letters was able to hit the way they have. I think that's
so.
Why
how many guys was at the table?
I believe the ironic number, I would say Masonically 3, but it was 12 because 1 + 2 is 3. So Masonically the numbers line up. I believe it was 12 of us all together at the end of the day.
So you mean tell me if Farrakhan was Jesus, that would be like the Last Supper, basically.
It lined up that way. No one, I didn't know how many people were coming. I just knew me and my senior warden. I think not only Brother Tony had some brothers that came, but I think the minister also invited a few brothers. So the number just happened to wind up what it was.
12.
Ironically, 12 as it, and you know, if you study the 12 and the characteristics of the 12, you know, it's just.
It went down just like the story of the Last Supper. It went down the same way, but you know, that's ironic. You know, I just thought, you know, I wanted to mention that. Brother Muhammad, how do you feel about almost like the nostalgic, like majestic number at the table, having the meal? Because the master teacher, Brother Farrakhan, notice I'm saying Brother Farrakhan said, sit down and eat with me. And he only has 1 meal a day. Bro, he said, today I'm gonna have a lunch meal with you brothers. He chose to have supper. Nobody said no. Everybody ate. We all broke bread.
You know, the unique thing is that he talked about his whole life and his sacrifice in getting to the place to where he's at right now. The mere fact of him putting cord boards inside of his shoes because the shoes looked good on top, had holes under the bottom. The mere fact of his wife holding it down while he was out teaching and he had to travel and she was there holding everything down. He didn't get a chance to take his kids to school or to the football games and to do those things because of his mission for his people and him putting himself on the front line and taking all of the heat that came along and his name being out there and how they crucified him and how they said these things about him. That whole time at the table, and he even schooled us on the Shriners. I mean, he went straight for the juggler. He was like, let me break this down to you. And all of the teachings and everything that was said at the table, and he said this: ask me anything you want to ask me.
Yeah,
that will be fair to you.
Yes, he did.
I mean, that's when the cat
and it was open.
Yeah,
you know. And now, what do y'all think about? I'm gonna ask you this one, Brother Muhammad. I'm gonna ask you this one, Brother Tony. I'm gonna ask you this one. What do you think about the fact that he still refers to Malcolm X as the master teacher, his master teacher? He don't.
It says a lot. It says what other people don't know, because just like when people's like, no, he didn't become a Mason. He didn't become a Mason. Just like they said, well, you know, him and Malcolm had their disagreement, but he does refer to Malcolm as being his master teacher. You know, and so there's a lot of things we don't know that he will share with you if you're at the table, if you're in his presence. See, a lot of people meet you in places in life. When we met him in a place in his life to where he was like, hey, what do you want to know? And people were asking him everything.
Everything. Now, Brother Rashad, I want to ask you a question. When he constantly referred to Malcolm X as the master teacher, and of course we got the media and everything that's been spent out there And I know you've been in the nation for over 35, 40 years. I want to ask you this. How did that make you feel to hear that kind of respect come from the master teacher of another master teacher? What all the lies and everything else has been out.
I've always known how the minister felt about Malcolm and his family, being that he was up under Malcolm when he first came in. And so I have 3 portraits that are paintings, oil paintings, and the 3 paintings that I have in my home is one of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, one of Malcolm, and one of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It's not surprising to me. There's a such thing, and people sometimes look at the 2 L's in life, which is loyalty and love. And sometimes, to me, loyalty can be more than love, because somebody can love you and still stab you in the back. The minister has always been very loyal to the craft, to the brotherhood, to our people. He has never betrayed us or turned his back on us, which is a higher form of love to me. There's so many people that do us harm that loved us, and sometimes they say, I love you, but they got a button, but he had no buts. And in regards to all the flack that was taking place with Malcolm back then, like he said, Malcolm was going through some things when he was going through the nation, and he was going to fire him back, but he always loved him. He never set out to do any harm to him and his family. Even when harm was almost sent out by the daughters towards him, he still embraced and didn't want any charges filed. And he really have a love for Malcolm. And Malcolm is a master teacher, was a master teacher. That's something that's undeniable. And that's what I love about the minister. He's very upfront, very clear, very transparent. When he loves you, he loves you. That's how come he's able to serve us as people for so long. He's loyal and loving to us, and he loved Malcolm, and that's just it.
Okay, now let me ask you this. How did you 2 feel when he expressed as being older in his age and being a grown man who now understands that mistakes were just made back then, and he was sorry that it even played out differently? Because we sat at the table, I was there too. I'm saying, you guys, how did you guys feel to see that as a, when you're young, you just whatever, but to see him at an age of just extreme humbleness, how can I say, he was open with his feelings, with his regrets, with his sacrifices that he made. How did it make you feel to see that man, he was basically naked with us? Brother Rashad, I'll go to you first, then I'm going to go to Brother Tony.
I try to learn everything I can from the minister on how to be, because to me, he's the epitome of manhood for me. And so for him to be able to exercise that type of poise and understanding and humility, I try to exercise that as well in terms of with individuals, understanding that he growing from his mistakes. He's saying, well, if I had maybe did this differently. So when something happened with the break with him and brother Khalid Muhammad, he was able to now, since it was now the universe giving him a chance all over again to see how he would respond, he responded properly. And that's why he's at content and at peace with that. And like you said, you can't give him fault for when he did as a child. Like you said, when I was a child, I spoke like one. When I became a man, the way childish things, we begin understanding that our words have power. We have people that somehow will hang on our every word. And so even if we have a brother that's slandering us or going through some things, defaming us, we're in a position of power. If we do some of those things back, could activate some things that we don't want to take place. And so him understanding the power of words, says the power is in the tongue, that he understand that he had to police his wisdom and police his actions more so. So as he got older, he learned to just be more reserved. And so I try to do that even in my daily life with individuals and dealings. I try to police my words and my wisdom.
So you pattern that. It's more so you pattern that as a way of walk. So let me ask you, Brother Muhammad, when you seen, like, you got a chance to really see the regret of just being young and not being able to seal the hatchet of disagreements and move forward in unity, and you seen that sorrow in his eyes, that he was, he said he has to carry these feelings with him for the rest of his life. How did that make you feel to see that kind of humility from a man that's so powerful and so strong?
Well, for me, it's like where do I go from here? He's my example now. So even though I may have some disagreements with a brother or a sister, I don't have to take it to the streets. I can call you up and say, you know what, I disagree with you. We may have some disagreements and leave it at that. I don't have to take it to social media. I don't take it to the streets. If we disagree, nobody has to know about it.
Right.
Nobody. And then even though you may see some things about me, I still can be man enough to call you on the phone or go a different route and squash that and leave it at that. And nobody has to know. So there was a learning lesson in there for me as far as how I should carry and be. You know, I don't, you know, like I said, you don't have to rush to social media these days and put everything out there. If I dislike you, I should be able to call you and say, man, I don't really like what you said. I disagree with it. I'm just going to leave it at that. And because tomorrow is going to come and the sun is going to be in the same place. So you might as well keep it moving.
So I take it that you two are now from that instance, which you are already doing great things, but now it pushed you in a area of moving more majestic than you ever had before. Is that good to say?
Yeah. Because I would say this for me. My brothers told me, you can't go and do what you used to go and do. They straight told me that. When you get ready to travel, other brothers got to know where you're going now. Because I used to just take off, Melvin. You know that. Hey, Melvin, I'm on the way, or I'm
guilty.
You guilty? They were like, no, you can't do that because you don't know who don't like you. So you have to be careful. So now, when I do something, it's like you go do it and then you come back and tell everybody you did it. So it was definitely a moment of learning for me.
Okay. Well, it's about our time. It's 4:20 now. Want to get this thing wrapped up. This is, I think, was a great interview. It's great for Christmas Eve. Things that people need to understand that there was 12, and it happened again. It happened a few thousand years ago, and it happened again. These are two of the guys that were sitting at the table. Guys, it was great interviewing you. It was great talking to you. I wish we had more time to follow it up. I love the fact that you guys were open. Your answers were very concise, and your answers were very, very entertaining. Brother Rashad,
I got a question. I got one question for you. And I don't know if Brother Rashad has a question for you, but I do. When you got the call from me, how did you feel about it?
I was there. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Because I ain't the one being interviewed. I was there. I showed up the same time y'all did.
Oh, you smart.
This is y'all's show, not mine.
I would like to ask Brother Melvin. Oh, you going to answer again?
He should.
Ask what?
I thought you was going to say something.
No, I'm not asking anything. I was going to ask y'all something to get y'all ready to close out. Don't worry about me. I'm good. This is y'all's interview. I'm interviewing y'all. I just so happen to be there. I
would like to ask, what impact did that meeting that day have on you and your life? You know, being able to be there, to sit at the table with the master builder, to be able to interact with him and some of the brothers that was there. What did you take away from that day? What's different since that day for you?
How the forces of energy work. So many forces working against me getting there that day. And that day, y'all, even with y'all, hundreds of planes were canceling. Getting to Chicago was bad storms, winds. I had to fly in like 300 some miles away to Indianapolis driving. It's funny, I met Master P on the plane that day. That's a whole nother story, but it was a lot that happened. You know, I stayed in some back room hotel, could drive to sunshine in, but nothing was going to stop me from being there. It was so bad that my wife looked at me and said, "Maybe it's not meant for you to go." And I learned that no matter how bad it is, sometimes the wall is like a brick wall, but it's not even a brick wall. If you envision yourself busting through it, there's no such thing as a brick. It was a brick wall to get there. And when I got there, the teachings that I learned in those 5 hours there, I get to take that with me for the rest of my life. And those teachings that I learned from being in that room told me that it's things that are so much more bigger than my little bitty life. And I got to be more majestic about that. So that's all I got. That's my movement of how I move and how I approach life and how I approach my situations. It's just different. That's enough of me. Go ahead.
Now, you know what else that was funny is when we got ready to leave. Now, you said we was there 5 hours. We was there a little bit longer than 5 hours. But you know what's funny?
7. I stopped.
We got ready to leave. He said, hold on, brothers. I'm going to watch the fight. Who wants to stay and watch the fight with me? And we was like, what? He's like, I'm gonna get ready to watch the fight. Who wants to stay and watch the fight? His daughter was like, Dad, you're not gonna be watching the fight that long. I'm watching the fight. I'm watching the fight. Who want to stay? And then we all went to eat afterwards. But that was something real special too. When he said, "Who wants to stay and watch?"
He's hanging with the brothers.
I was like, "Oh man!" But his daughter was like, "Dad, you've been up all day," because he canceled all of his appointments.
Shut it down.
We don't know what person was waiting to see him, what dignitary other than us that
how long they had to wait.
That had to, we canceling you tomorrow. Like, wow.
I was just letting him warm up.
You know, that was crazy. When with all of that, it was like, oh, come on, watch the fight with me. I was like, now I'm gonna tell you, I wanted to, but when his daughter was like, you know what, Dad, you've been up all day. You got to lay it down. You can watch some of the fight, but you come on, Dad.
Shut it down.
Like, all right, it was that.
Yeah, she's just nerves to stay on top of him to make sure he's good. So
keep him right.
So you gotta respect that. But yeah, it was
awesome. 86 at the time. Very few people don't make it to be that old. And that's one of the things people gotta look at, that for someone to take a liking to us like that and take a hold. It says a lot about the character of the people and the energy that was in that room. First off, I personally want to thank, and I know you brothers will also agree with me, Brother Don Enoch,
yes, sir.
for being who he is, being one of the hands directly of Farrakhan and what he does. And there's a lot of people that do a lot in the back room, in the back scenes. My brother Don Enoch needs, I believe, he needs that credit, because for just so happened, is it by the hand of God that he had both letters in his hand at the same time. So we have to look at that.
Brother Don is a very good brother, very unique, good brother. I love it. The minister is very loyal to the minister. Like you said, he's like a right hand to the minister, and I know the minister have many right hands, but he's a very good brother. He's very
that's his heart of the streets.
That's his bridge to a lot of us there that some people can't reach. And Brother Don is very key in needing to do that. Very genuine brother. Got a lot of love for that brother. We're very thankful that he was able to make that happen for us in our lifetime.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Now, guys, we at our time. This is my show hosting for at least a few more minutes. Brother Tony, I like us to stay on here, but I know people want to be able to watch our segment and send it out. Send this out to all your friends, everyone share it. That's how we do things around here. Nothing but love. Brother Rashad, any last words that you'd like to share with us?
No, other than the fact that I think that any brother or any sister that hear this, I think one of the things that the minister gave for us, I would ask to give to everyone else. You can't get nothing more better than that, which is unity. Trying to use all that we can to unite under the principles of love or brotherhood and sisterhood for the benefit of ourselves. We got a lot of things that's going to take place in the years and months, days to come that we need to be prepared for. And we're only going to be able to get through them if we unite. And to do that, we're going to have to tear away some of those things that separate us. Anything that separates us, we need to cast aside. We need to look at the gender, skin color, classism, 3-letter, 4-letter, PHO, PFO, Scottish Rite, York, and all that stuff that divides, cast that aside. We need to look at the oneness of all of us. We all come from the divine. We all need to look at what we need to do to kind of unite and become one and have a more forgiving spirit in the heart. And I think that's real important right now.
Thank you. That's That's great. That's great. As long as you're not cooking, we will be united.
My cooking unites everyone. In
Brother
fact, I gotta go
Muhammad.
do that right now.
Yeah, Brother Muhammad, the man who got the show, the man, the myth, the legend. Got any last words?
My brother.
First time on your show, and you getting interviewed. And we got to do one more interview too about your story. But go ahead.
I would say this, you know, if you are a Mason and Masonry separates you from others, then you're not really a Mason. Mm-hmm. If you are a Mason, a member of the Order of the Eastern Star, if you're claiming these rights and privileges, but you are separated, you're not, no. And I think Masonry, as it is said, is supposed to unite all brothers of all creeds.
That's right.
And if you're going to do that, do that. If you're going to be that, be that. And live your life accordingly. Live your life accordingly. Everything don't have to be put on media, social media about what you're doing, who you are. I had to learn that lesson. And in learning that lesson, I'm growing. So, you know, and I think we all should be on that path of growth.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Brother Muhammad. I'm Brother Little. I'm your host today, just only for the day. Want to take this out. We're letting everybody know from what I'm gathering from both of these brothers here and also myself, is that Masonry is about love, faith, hope, and charity. And with the power of the past Grandmaster with his Grandmaster and the Grandmaster and in Poussance in the room, that the authority was granted to make Brother Farrakhan a Mason. The oath of obligation was given to him on the book, his VSL of his understanding, by these two men here. Well, I was also in the room too. So, but I want us to understand that being a Mason is about taking the higher cause. It is not the organization that makes the man, but the man that makes the organization. And that man has become a part of our organization, and he is the myth. He is the legend. And you guys are there. You guys made it happen. I want to thank you both, Brother Muhammad. Thank you for coming on the show, being interviewed, allowing yourself to actually be a guest today. Brother Rashad, I want to thank you too for coming on the show, and being also, you get brothers who've been in the back room for making Brother Farrakhan and also his two cable toes. Thank you. Appreciate you. Have a good day.
Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you, bro. Travis said.